that it's going to get you aboard. I was before that time. When I listen to these stories, I don't know about that, folks. What I want to do is perhaps just make 15 minutes remarks, Chuck, if that's all right, and then open it up to Q&A for anybody that might have some questions, and we can get into a little dialogue there. I always find that most interesting, because I always find that the audience wants to cover certain areas that, you know, we can really get into it, and there's nothing off limits. But as Chuck was saying, a couple of weeks ago, I received this award at the library, and again, you know, the recognition just keeps coming, and you know, nobody would have dreamed back in 1973 that this would have happened over so many years. Of course, we have been in the POW camps for so long, exposed to constant daily propaganda. And the daily propaganda that we received day after day was basically how bad things were for the U.S. and how horrible the administration was in those days, and our foreign policy, and on and on. And after a while, you know, you sort of became a little bit in a fog, in a way, in the sense that you really didn't know what to expect. So when we came out, it was great revealing to see that the American people, in general, the American people, were the same ones that's so appreciative of our military, so appreciative of our efforts in trying to do what's right. And so it was bringing us back to reality in a way. But at the library event, they were going over some of their experiences by people who had been in the Nixon administration in certain areas. And it brought back memories. It brought back the election in 1968, the development of the policies of the administration, but particularly when it came to Vietnam. And at that time, we used to get input filtered from the news propaganda over the loudspeakers, where we would sort of have to filter out what was true and what was propaganda. But gradually, what we put together was the fact that in developing the policy for Vietnam, the Nixon administration looked to bring peace to Vietnam, but they did it in a way which we thought, from our perspective, we were a little bit, well, disturbed, but on the other hand, we felt it was the right thing to do, and that was to bring peace, but to bring it with honor. And in 1969, as we look at this, you know, having been exposed to the totalitarian regime of our captors and just the propaganda and everything, and a lot of us had been there for quite a while. I was there for 5 years by that time, others 4.5, 4 years, and many others 3, and what have you. And we sensed, from our perspective, that what that really meant was that really encompassed the values and the principles of the American people. Sure, we wanted peace, but we wanted the right peace. And so, recognizing that, we knew it was going to take a while. It wasn't going to be overnight. But that was reality. And that's what we were going to have to face. And I would have to tell you that 98% of us thought, okay, we'll stick it out. We'll just sit here. We'll just do what we have to do. Now, by 1969, we had done several things as prisoners of war. The major thing that we had accomplished in that period of time is that we had been able to develop a very good, a very sophisticated covert communication system. Basically, tapping on the wall from one cell to the other. You've heard many stories, I'm sure, about how that was done and what it did. But I tell you, that was our lifeline. For many years, it kept us together. It enabled us to know not only who was in the cell next to us and what have you, but who was in our building. And then by similar methods, who was in the camp. And by similar methods, the way they used to rotate us around and move us around, who was a POW in the camp system. Because by 1969, they had opened up several camps in addition to the main camp, which we tagged the Hanoi Hilton, which was an old fortress-like prison built by the French in the late 1880s. And so we had a very, very good system. And it was our job, and our total purpose was to keep this thing going, because it kept us united as a group in terms of a military organization as a way. So tapping was our daily, nightly way of life. I mean, we tapped all day and all night. And you had to do it very covertly, because if you were caught communicating, well, you know, it was interesting, because the camp commander had in each cell posted this little, inside the door, the camp regulations. And the first one was, of course, no communicating. And then they had a list of other things that were prohibited. So, if you're ever caught communicating, tapping, you will be severely punished, as the warning was on the poster there inside your door. Well, let me tell you, we probably got caught every day. Was an occurrence. So, being severely punished became a daily occurrence, and it just went on and on. It became a way of life. One of the fellows who I have to say was well known. The reason I remember him tonight is because he passed away not too long ago, a couple of months ago, but his funeral is going to be in 2 weeks here at Arlington. Bob Purcell. And Bob was a colorful individual. He was an Air Force pilot, but he was a fellow who was always getting caught for something, but he was, in my view, one of the real true heroes. And the funny thing is that when they would take him out and punish him, you know, they would beat him around and beat him around and beat him around. And so one day they were working him over, and the story is, and somebody had observed this, and he turned to the guard and he said, would you mind hitting me on the other side? He says, I'm getting a little bit sore. Of course, that angered the guard. He didn't understand it, and he got it worse, but it was typical Bob Purcell type of thing. We tapped and we talked through the walls, and that's how we talked about everything. We knew more about the fellow that lived next door by tapping to him than we knew about many things we do in normal life. I knew more about Bob Peterson, for example, or Pete Peterson, who was later the ambassador, first ambassador to Vietnam. Before that, he was a congressman. But Pete used to live in the cell next to us, and we would tap. I knew more about Pete, his family, his wife. She passed away not too many years ago, but and on and on. And you know, years later, when we finally met each other one day. You know, and we're looking around. I said, I want to see this fellow Pete. Where is he? He's looking around. I want to see this fellow Ed. And we looked at each other like, you? You don't look like what I thought you looked like tapping through the wall. I mean, you're supposed to be, you know, a real big John Wayne type figure. No, Pete was shorter than me, as a matter of fact. And then tapping had its flaws. You mentioned Fred Cherry. Fred's a good friend of mine. But I remember the day way back in the mid-'60s. And at that time, tapping through the wall, we used to keep track of who the newcomers were. And so we were in this one new camp that was called the Zoo. We called it the Zoo later on because that's the one where people used to come in and peek in the doors. And I think it was Bob Purcell who said, you know, this is the first place where the animals come in to look at the people. So we call it the Zoo. And anyway, so we used to, anytime there was a new arrival, and they'd get a hold of him and they'd whisper back and forth or whatever they could do and teach him the tap code and what have you, then they would pass the word around. So after a while we would accumulate, you know, and this is all by memory, a long list of names. Well, one of the names we had over a period of time came down the wall. There's a new fellow down at the end of the building. His name is Red Carey. So, a couple of months went by. Then there was another couple that moved in across the way, and they're whispering across the way like a little alley like, and we could whisper up through the shutters, closed shutters, and he had a view of what was down at the other end of the building over here. So he called out, he says, I want to know, who's that new fellow down there? Moved in 2 months ago. And he said, his name is Red Carey. No, what's his name? It came back, Red Carey, by the tap code, right? Well, and then one day he said, well, that's the first black guy I ever known called Red. Well, we had that name, Red Carey, for many years. It turned out to be Fred Cherry. Somebody had tapped dot, 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 instead of dot, 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 dot. So it became out red, or dropped the F somehow. And to this day, the day we came home,